Howdy there, folks. 'Tis I, back here to bring you some wonderfully cringy artwork that I, in my youth, have created. I will be taking you back to a dark time in history, a time of sorrow, anger, and war, a time of dirty Converse and black hair dye, a younger, less experienced time not only for myself, but for all of us. Ah yes, high school. As with most high schoolers, I thought that I was a pretty decent person back then, and now, as an adult, I think that for the most part, I was okay. However, I was a high schooler, so I wasn't a well-rounded or fully developed person in the slightest. I was terrible with assignments, I didn't like anyone, and I thought that I was better than most people. I made mistakes, and I learned a lot of lessons, academic and otherwise, mostly otherwise. That's what high school is for, though. It's to learn. It's one of the many developmental periods in our lives, and it's a place where we try and sometimes succeed at figuring things out about ourselves and the world around us. I, for instance, really fell into my role as an artist over those 4 years, and in this video, I'm going to be looking over the art that I created and discussing how, even if it wasn't that great or interesting, it affects the way that I create art in the present. Before we get into this, I just wanted to say that no matter where you are in your art journey, you shouldn't feel bad about what you make. While criticism is needed, it should always be constructive, especially when it's coming from yourself. Everyone starts somewhere, and it usually isn't pretty. So if you feel bad about your art, just keep practicing, keep working at it, and you will see growth, I promise. It's almost impossible not to. All of the things that I say about the work shown in this video come from a good place. I'm happy with all of the work and I look at it with endearment and fondness. So if there's anything that I say that offends you or pisses you off, I ask that you remember this is all for the sake of nostalgia and whatever, so just take it with a grain of salt. I technically started high school in 2011, but I'm gonna start this video in 2012. The only reason being I couldn't find anything from 2011 that wasn't done in middle school. Besides, 2012 is when I really started to take an interest in art. I didn't make anything super meaningful or technically good by any standard, and I tended to draw the same types of things over and over, as well as a lot of fan art. It is, however, when I started to take an interest in portraits, something that I would stick with throughout high school and even after. I stuck to graphite mostly at the beginning, and while there were good things about these portraits, I had no idea how to use different hardnesses of lead, and I would usually just jump right in without really sketching it out or thinking about it. I also relied way too much on smudging, which when done correctly can look really nice and really add to the art, but I used it as a cushion so that I wouldn't have to put too much effort into where or why I was shading. By the time 2013 rolled around, I was an art making machine and I had fully embraced the whole edgy emo kid thing. I drew a lot of stuff that I thought was dark and cool and interesting, but it came from a place of wanting to be that and not from the heart. So to me, a lot of it is just kind of boring, with a few exceptions. Throughout high school, and even after, my art was heavily influenced by the music that I listened to, resulting in a lot of stuff like this. Just as an aside, if you know an artist who is or once was into My Chemical Romance, I can guarantee that they just have a horde of MCR fan art. It's just a thing that happens. I haven't really seen it with any other band, just My Chemical Romance. Like, an embarrassing amount. I digress. In 2013, I really started to want to learn about art. I started trying to apply anatomy and proportion and perspective, and while I didn't do it well, it was a start, and I was trying, and that was what was important. I also started using watercolor, which would come to be one of my favorite mediums to use. I made a lot of mistakes, including not really mixing my colors, but mainly not using the right kind of paper, which is something that I wouldn't care to apply until I was already out of high school. So for anybody cringing at the pilling and just general grossness of this paper, I am very sorry. The emo edgelord thing continued into 2014, but I started to branch out a little. I was still interested in portraits, but I also started bringing in different concepts and visuals into my art. I didn't draw as much, but for the most part, I'm pretty okay with the pieces that I do have from that year. I definitely had a tendency to not finish things, though. I don't know if I just got frustrated or bored or both, but most of the things I have from 2014 are either half finished or just a couple pencil scratches. A far cry from what 2015 brought. My graduating year. I really started to enjoy the art that I was making, and I did a ton of portraits. I also learned a lot of technical things about art. You see, by the time my senior year rolled around, I, along with a few other students in my high school, had taken all of the art courses available, so instead, my art teacher, bless his heart, assigned us with creating an art portfolio based on the requirements of some art college. I don't remember which one, or if it was an actual college or just based on one. I wasn't very interested in getting into college for art, and I'm still not, but it was for sure a learning experience, and I'm very grateful for it. This is the year that still holds a lot of pieces that I'm proud of to this day. I wasn't perfect, but I can tell looking back that I really started to be more confident with what I was making, and I was really enjoying what I was making. As for after high school, I stuck to the whole portrait thing for a while, and I still do them every now and again, but recently I've been trying to branch out and try different things, which, if there's one lesson I'd like everyone to take away from this, it's to try different things, different media, different style, whatever, just try it, and maybe you'll find something that you really love doing. Before this video ends, I want to reinstate that everyone starts somewhere. Every time you look at a piece of art and start to feel bad about what you're making, remember that all of those amazing artists that you look up to once did the same, and maybe they still do. In my opinion, a good artist never stops learning and improving. This is where I started, and this is where I am. I am by no means a professional, and I haven't a clue what I'm doing most of the time, but if all goes well, in a few years, I'll be even more improved than I am now, and you will be too. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this and you'd like to see more of my art, more current art to be precise, or if you just feel like being nice, feel free to subscribe or click that like button, or both, whatever you want to do. That's the beauty of free will. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.